I remember picking up the phone, just like any normal conversation having with Lindsay, and the first words coming out of her mouth were, "They think there's something wrong with Joel's heart." I could hear the trembling in Lindsay's voice as she said those words, and I know my heart dropped. And began to ask her questions, what was going on. She said that the doctors had did an x-ray, and that actually all three of the doctors in the office had come and listened to him, and that our doctor had thought that something was wrong. So I remember telling her on the phone, "Listen, stay right there. I'm going to be there." I dropped everything I did. I told Pastor Bubba and our staff that I was leaving and just to be praying. And I took off to the doctor's office, rushing in and them pointing to where Lindsay was. And I walked into the door, and Lindsay's holding Joel, and our doctor walking in and saying, "We think something's with his heart. We're not exactly sure what exactly it is, but from the x-rays we see something is wrong." And I just got off the phone with a pediatric cardiologist, and she's driving from New Orleans right now to meet you guys in Lake Charles, and you need to take off and go to Lake Charles immediately.
You know, those emotions started coming, and you always think it's not going to be anything serious. You know, it's probably nothing big, but yet, you know, the thoughts in the back of your mind, but still being afraid, but yet not wanting to let those, at that point didn't want to be overcome by emotions. So at that point I didn't break down crying. It was just like, okay, we don't know. So let's just keep going from there. No previous hospital experience at all. Now we're in ER with our son, unknowns, start hooking up to monitors that we weren't really familiar with. And
so we had our cardiologist assistant walk in and do an echo on Joel's heart, which is pretty much just an ultrasound of the heart to see how it's functioning. And he did that for about 20 minutes, and they left. And about 5 or 10 minutes later, the ER doctor walks into the room, and he just says, "Your son has congestive heart failure." I was on one side of the room, and Lindsay was sitting down on the other side of the room, and Joel was asleep when this went on.
For me, it felt like the floor, like there was no floor. It felt like I had no breath. It was just like literally like everything knocked out of you.
We met with our cardiologist finally that night, and she finally told us exactly what was happening and diagnosed him with pulmonary hypertension. The blood vessels in his lungs were constricting and not allowing blood to flow to his lungs. And since that's not happening, the right side of your heart, which tries to pump blood to your lungs, pumps harder and harder. And so his heart was about 3 times larger on his right side than it should have been. We would end up spending 26 days in New Orleans, and we had some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows in those 26 days. And I think one of the hardships for us as a parent, and any parent understands this, is when you see your child in excruciating pain and you see people inflicting pain on him. That is hard. And to whisper in your son's ear constantly, "It's going to be okay, you're strong, God's with us, it's all right, don't be afraid." But just seeing them have to draw blood 3 to 4 to 5 times a day because they were running so many tests on him to try to find out exactly what was the cause of all this. And they weren't finding a cause at all. The last day, kind of the last couple of days in New Orleans, we found out that Joel was diagnosed with PPH, which is Primary Pulmonary Hypertension. Doing the research on that, we found out that that is a very rare disease, so rare that it's in 1 in every million people. In a sense, it was comical to me because it just showed the humor of God to go, okay, then we're really going to see God do something here. He has 3 options. He can be on medicine for life, he can get a lung transplant, or he needs a miracle. But of course, the doctors didn't give us a 3rd option. We just added that one. And that's the one that we continue believe for even today, is that he will get a miracle.
We currently do not know what the future holds for Joel, but we do know who holds the future, and we know that God is sovereign, and we know he formed his inward parts, and he made him, and he created him. And whatever the outcome, we do know that we trust him.
And I think that's been from day one for us, is knowing the truth that God is good, and that everything that we go through is for our good and for God's glory. And if we can walk through this and people can know Jesus, then we count it the greatest honor and the greatest privilege to be able to walk through this with our son and as a family, and to be able to show people who don't know Jesus that he is more than enough and that he is good. We stand on Psalm 62. We will trust in him at all times. He is our refuge, he is our hope, and we will not be shaken.